throughout the Golden Horseshoe area, and an operational project is currently underway to address this issue. Theft under 5,000, page 35. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 38 events. During the reported month, 32 actual events were investigated. Theft under events reported within the projected range for December. In reviewing all theft under events for 2018, the total fell within the projected range. Theft under events indicate a downward trend. Illicit drugs, page 36. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 8 events. During the reported month, 2 actual events were investigated. During the reported month, there was 1 warrant executed. A total of 3 persons were charged with a total of 10 charges, 3 under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act, 4 under the Criminal Code, and 3 under other legislation. There were 4 drug seizures valued at $4,588 and 9 property seizures consisting of household articles, tools, and electronics. There were also 2 cash seizures totaling $1,427. No vehicles were seized during this time frame. In a review of all 2018, 20 warrants were executed, resulting in 65 persons being charged with 372 offenses. There were a total of 226 drug seizures valued at $162,961 and 221 property seizures. And there were a total of 20 cash seizures totaling $15,271, along with 6 vehicle seizures totaled at a value of around $11,500.
Just Inspector, that money seized, that goes into the province, because every county seizes drugs and money. Where does those funds, where do they end up?
Those funds get divvied up in grant applications.
Okay.
So we can, there's various grants that we can apply throughout the year.
Thank you.
As assets. I'm just going to skip over to page 38 and deal with and come back to traffic. So page 38, 911 calls and hang-up calls. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect between 96 and 139 events. During the reported month, 187 actual events were reported. Total number of 911 calls and hang-up calls for 2018 were slightly up over 2017's total of 2,046. Page 39, alarms. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect between 52 and 70 events. During the month of December, 51 events were reported. The total number of alarms for 2018 were up significantly from 2017, 787 versus 637.
Again, a question to the inspector. Like 911, is there a percentage of some of the alarms are false? Or you probably don't have that statistic because you have to do a call for service every time there's an alarm goes off.
Correct.
Correct.
As a percentage of false alarms, I don't have that off the top of my head, but I could reasonably say that the vast majority of them are false alarms caused by defective systems or something moving.
And the county does have fines in place if it's first, second, third. Thank you.
After would be preferable.
I'll slow down then.
And let's flip over to page 41, and we'll deal with the Mental Health Act calls. So based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that the Norfolk OPP could expect 41 events. During the reported month, 32 actual events were investigated. During the month of December, members were involved in 32 mental health related occurrences, dedicating 176.25 hours to these investigations. The average year-to-date time spent per mental health call for service is 5.75 hours. Mental Health Act events in Norfolk County reported within the projected range for December. In reviewing mental health related events for 2018, the total fell within the projected range. However, mental health calls still indicate an upward trend. And we can go back to page 37, and we'll deal with traffic-related issues. For collisions, all collision types for December reported below the projected range at 82. All collision types did see a decrease of 22 from December last year. A year-to-date decrease of 3.2% was observed from the same time frame last year. Property damage collisions for December reported below the projected range at 69. Property damage collisions did see a decrease of 19, or 21.6%, from December last year, and a year-to-date increase of 0.7% was observed from the same time frame last year. Non-fatal injury collisions for December reported within the projected range at 13. Non-fatal injury collisions did see a decrease of 3, or 18.8%, from December last year, and a year-to-date decrease of 19.5% was observed from the same time frame last year. As I said, non-fatal injury collisions total 13 for December. In reviewing the collisions, they ranked as follows: improper turn, 5, speed too fast for conditions, 2, impaired by alcohol, 1, inattentive driving, 1, excessive speed, 1, disobey traffic control, 1, fail to yield right of way, 1, and lost control, 1. Fatal collisions for December reported within the projected range at 0. Fatal collisions saw no change from December last year. Unfortunately, a year-to-date increase of 37.5% was observed over the same time frame last year. And the 2018 fatal collisions, we had 11 in total and 12 deaths, and they occurred at various areas throughout the county at various times of the day, various weekdays. Impaired driving, which is on page 40. Based on a 5-year trend, it was estimated that we could expect 6 events. During the reported month, 10 actual events were investigated. Impaired driving events in Norfolk County reported above the projected range for December. In reviewing the impaired events for December, 5 were the result of public complaints, 2 were motor vehicle collision related, 2 were the result of ride programs, and 1 was the result of a traffic stop. And we had 7 festive ride programs in the month of December. In reviewing impaired events for 2018, the total fell within the projected range, and impaired events are indicating a very slight downward trend. Focus patrols. So we have an open one regarding ATM thefts in the county that's running this month and next month. We have a closed Simcoe Panorama Focus Patrol that ran from September 1st to December 31st. You won't find this in your pages. This Focus Patrol obviously was in response to previous theft and mischief incidents at the Panorama. And as a result of this Focus Patrol, 12 uniform officers dedicated 22.5 hours to patrolling Simcoe Panorama. This was supported by 40 hours of patrol done by our auxiliary officers. And during this Focus Patrol, there were 3 incidents reported: theft from the gumball candy machines, a sound cell phone, and 1 parking complaint. We have an open Focus Patrol for speeding on Concession 6 in Woodhouse, running for the next several weeks, and that's in response to a complaint and a speed spy study that was conducted that suggested the need for a Focus Patrol in that area. Still on traffic, we've closed the Focus Patrol regarding Big 4 on McDowell Road, which ran from September to the end of December. This was in response to some benchmark collisions we had on McDowell, and as a result, 16 officers dedicated 78.75 hours of patrol and laid 70 charges. closed our Big 4 focus patrol on Highway 3, which ran from September to the end of December. Again, it was in response to some benchmark collisions on 3 Highway. And as a result, 14 officers dedicated 59 and a quarter hours of patrol, and a total of 13 charges were laid. We also closed our Big 4 ride, focusing on Norfolk County 23, which ran from September to December. It was in response to alcohol-related driving complaints. As a result, 5 officers dedicated 4 3/4 hours of patrol. 1 ride was conducted, resulting in 1 charge. We ran a focus patrol on County Road 23 in Glen Meyer. It was as a result of a speed spy study conducted, and 5 officers dedicated 11 3/4 hours, and 2 speeding charges were laid. We also did a focus patrol in Teeterville regarding speeding on Teeter Street, and that focus patrol resulted in 7 officers dedicating 8.5 hours and 2 speeding charges laid. And we did a focus patrol in Calvin, Burford Delhi Town Line Road. That was in response to a speeding complaint and a speed spy study. And we had 5 officers dedicated 4.5 hours, totaling 6 charges, ranging from speeding, Liquor License Act violations, and stunt driving charges. Speed spy studies, we conducted 1 on Prospect Street in Port Dover, which I think is the 3rd or 4th one that we've conducted there in regards to complaints. Once again, it showed that there was no speeding problem. If anything, it is a volume problem, a perception problem. I can't do anything about volume. That's in the hands of the designers. Moving on to foot patrol, page 42. So in December, 375 and 3/4 hours of foot patrol were conducted throughout the county, and the total of foot patrol hours for 2018 were 4,817.5 hours, and 2,466 of those were conducted in Simcoe. And just in comparison, in 2017, 4,781 hours of foot patrol were conducted throughout the county, and 2,494.25 were conducted in Simcoe. Bike patrol, obviously we had no bike patrol in December. However, for the year, we had 91 hours of bike patrol conducted in the county. School visits, violent events. We had 1 violent event at a school in December, and we conducted 38 school visits in December. So 2018 totals, we had 7 violent events in our schools for the year, and 375 school visits were conducted by officers. Page 43. Our driving charges, December, we had no distracted driving, no racing, 104 speeding charges, we don't have the December yet. We're always a month behind, so we should be looking at November. So November, we had 1 distracted driving, 1 racing, 166 speeding charges, 1 seatbelt offense, and 11 impaired offenses. License suspensions. November, we had 2 roadsides, 8 driver license administration suspensions, 2 3-day suspensions, 40 rides, and 5 seatbelt checks. And if there's any questions.
Any questions for the inspector? Mike? Councilor.
Yeah, just a general one that's not here. It's with respect to cameras, like security cameras. Do you feel that they actually work quite well in deterring crime?
Yes.
Okay, so we should be promoting more people to have security cameras. Like, you've got alarms here, but there's never a mention about security cameras. So I know that they're more prevalent now, but
Well-
should people engage in having more of their own personal security cameras?
Well, I think people should engage in anything that will increase their personal security, whether it's alarms, cameras, or just redesigning how they have their lighting, motion sensors, anything like that. I'm not promoting one feature over another. All anti-crime initiatives have their pluses. It's whatever works specifically for the person. But security cameras often do provide valuable footage in solving crime.
Councillor.
Thank you. I have three questions. In regards to the ATMs, I know that this is something that's been, it's not just our area. What is being promoted? How is this being handled, I guess?
Okay, we do have an ongoing operation addressing the ATM thefts, and that's all I'll mention about that because it is operational right now. However, I can say within our county, a member of our street team unit has visited every place that we know of that has an ATM, provided them with security information, and quite frankly, the biggest thing that they can do is if they're not making any money with it, get rid of it. Take it out.
That's my
Because
question.
the damage that's caused by them driving a vehicle into the building to steal that ATM, quite frankly, far outweighs the probably less than $100 most of them make off that ATM. So, but we have visited every place in the county and provided them with that information.
Okay. My next question, in regards to the 911 calls, this obviously gets lots of press and it gets lots of people talking and everyone has their opinions. So do you think that it's primarily just people misusing their phones, or like it seems strange to me that it seems to have escalated again?
There's a high percentage of misdials on cell phones. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't lock their cell phone, and they have the automatic 911 dial feature. It happens. We continue, and through this board, through community policing committee meetings, through our media, we're continually educating on the 911. It's a problem I'm not sure how to solve.
I'm just going to say some of the grassroots options for that would be even going to, I mean, we only have a couple places really in Norfolk County, primarily in Simcoe, where people are coming to purchase phones and things. So even going out and speaking with the people who are selling the devices and things to, really educate consumers on that piece. Because if it is a new device, when you're switching devices, it is a big change for a lot of people, right? So I don't know if that's what it is, and I know that obviously the ones that get the most media calls are those silliness ones, right? But that might be an option in terms of the grassroots movement for that. The other question I have is, now I can only speak to Waterford because I live in Waterford. So looking at the foot patrol, I have a question. So these statistics are based specifically on, when you're saying foot patrol, where there is an officer foot to pavement, that's what these stats are?
Correct. They're out of their car, walking around.
Okay. And I mean, obviously I see a very high statistics for October for Waterford, which obviously would coincide with Pumpkin Fest. But I'm just looking at, there's some pretty high stats in here for the winter time. So just looking at that, I just wanted to ensure that those were actual, this wasn't officers in their vehicles, it was actually on the ground. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. For the inspector, there's new fines, new regulations come out, new penalties for impaired and distracted driving. I'd be curious watching those numbers to see, maybe they're not even high enough yet. Maybe suspensions, but I'm really curious. We'll watch those numbers to see if these punishments for distracted driving and impaired driving decrease.
Yes, it will be interesting. We'll have to watch the analysis over the next coming months. The legislation just came in, so we'll probably see those, if there's a trend in a couple months. Hopefully it's a downward trend.
And does the public even know overall of these? I know it's been in the papers, but does it register to the constant people that misuse impaired and distracted driving?
My answer to that is, as you said, there's been an education campaign out there. It's been in the papers. Whether people take heed of it, time will tell.
Thank you. Any other questions for the inspector? Moving on, we have the,
Excuse me, Chair, we need to move to accept his.
oh yes, I need a motion to accept the inspector's report. Motion by Carol. Second by Mike. All in favor, carried. Inspector, you sent us an email regarding a request for victim services in Holland, Norfolk. Would you?
Yes,
present
Mr.
that,
Chair,
please?
if I could address that. So back on December the 6th, I had a meeting with the executive directors of the Victim Services of Haldeman Norfolk New Credit. And part of the meeting agenda, we discussed the Mobile Emergency Response System alarms, or MERS alarms as they're referred to. And these alarms, these mobile alarms, are essentially GPS-tracked cell phones which are issued to high-risk victims of crime, such as victims of domestic violence, in which there is a high risk that the offender could harm the victim upon release. The MERS alarm allows the victim comfort of security in that no matter where they go, they're able to summon police assistance immediately, and due to the fact that the units are GPS enabled, they don't have to verbalize where they are or what the situation is. They just activate the alarm, goes to a dispatch center, and police are immediately dispatched to the GPS coordinates on the device. The MERS units have a lifespan of 2 to 3 years, and they're in constant use. During the meeting, I learned that the Victim Services currently have 8 of these units, and that all 8 have been funded by Haldeman County, but they're servicing Haldeman, Norfolk, and New Credit. Victim Services would ideally like to have 25 of the units to comfortably service all the high-risk client needs. So I asked them to provide me a price quotation, which is page 2, listing the price of 3 units to get 3 MERS alarm units up and running for distribution for 1 year. Once the units are purchased and activated, there's only the monthly service fee that has to continue to be paid. So what I'm requesting, I'd like to put a proposal forth on behalf of Victim Services of Haldeman Norfolk New Credit that this police service board consider a resolution to purchase 3 MERS alarms along with a monthly service fee for 1 year, so that all Victim Services will have them available for distribution to their high-risk clients when needed. The price quotation is for 3 MERS alarms, and it totals $1,511.53. And I propose that the funding come from the monies raised from auction property that we have, that we turn the money over to the Police Service Board for your distribution. So I would like for your consideration of that, to use that money to help high-risk victims of crime.
Questions for the inspector? Council-
Well, that was my
Mike?
question, was does the PSB have a budget with bank account with dollars in it, or is this the appropriate way?
It's not a budgeted amount. We do have, as the inspector stated, a proceeds from crime fund. And so that's money that we have a bank account in locally, and that's where we spend for these kinds of initiatives. We have bought in the past other things for the OPP to assist them in their duties as well. Maybe the inspector could speak to some of the things that we have purchased in the past. Can you speak to that?
So, Mr. Chair, I'll move the motion that we proceed with expending $1,550 for these 3 units
Seconder,
from the Victims and Crimes Fund.
Councillor Kim, all in favor? Carried.
And Mr. Chair, on behalf of Victim Services of Haldeman, Norfolk, and New Credit, I thank you. I will be, actually have a meeting with them again on the 5th, next Tuesday it is, and I will be very happy to advise them that you're purchasing 3 MERS alarms for them. I'm sure they'll be delighted. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Inspector. Moving on, email from 53, correct, from Mr. Johnson to Marine. Speed watch. Okay. At this point, do we have any questions, Monty? And
Oh, good morning, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. I thought I heard you say, Mr. Chairman, that Peter Hellier is moved on from the PSB.
yes, he has.
Okay.
And I don't know if you were here when the board, on behalf of the board, we thank him for 15 years exemplary service to the community. Is that the right word?
Yes. Before you go in camera, I wouldn't mind getting a comment from yourself, seeing that you served with him for many, many years on the PSB with regard to his contribution. Almost been the chair as long as I can remember. Mr. Hellier's departure, was that basically a resignation, or did his appointment run out and was not renewed? What was the nature of this departure?
In speaking to Peter after the last meeting, I think Peter felt that after 15 years, he's moving on to other things. He's been involved in a lot in this community, the hospital board, the police service board. He talks about his, they have a vacation spot. My belief is Peter's going to go on to do other things.
Right. Now, maybe I'm mistaken, but my understanding, Mr. Chairman, is that yourself and Ms. Greentree here are provincial appointees.
That is correct.
All righty. And Mr. Hellier was a provincial appointee?
He was a community appointee.
A community appointee?
Yes,
Okay.
Norfolk Council.
Okay.
They will be submitting, they'll be telling us soon who the community appointee is. I think that date is passed, but we haven't heard who the appointee is going to be.
Right. Yeah, they are taking care of some backlog business, so perhaps there'll be some development with regard to that. Councillor Columbus and Councillor Huffman would know better than that than I do. So it was okay. That's good to know about Chairman Hellier. I thought for some reason he was a provincial appointee, but obviously I'm mistaken. Now, is yourself and Ms. Greentree, are you guys provincial appointees?
Yes.
Alrighty. What's the nature of your appointment now that the municipal election cycle is gone and we have a new government at Queen's Park, have you been reappointed, or are you folks in the midst of a 3-year term, or?
Like every other organization, there's a huge backlog in appointments. I think that's pretty well, they have a lot to fill before they even look at, I have a year left.
Okay. Yep, good to
And
know.
then I have a year, I'm up this year, but then I have a year left after that, so I'm in my 8th year, and you're allowed to serve 10.
I would just like to add that that information can be found online on the provincial website, the Appointment Secretariat. They have the terms of every police service board.
Appointment Secretariat?
Yes.
Yeah,
You
Appointment
can find
Secretariat.
that.
Monty, you can apply yourself if you wish.
Right. Okay, so the Appointment Secretariat.
Yes.
So while I have you here, Ms. Greentree, what's the duration of your appointment? How much time do you have left?
My appointment was for 2 years. My appointment ends November 2019.
Okay. Thank you for your time. Now, I'd like to have a comment, please, if you don't mind, afterward, about Chairman Hallier's contribution to PSB affairs to Norfolk. Thank you.
More than happy.